I was getting ready to shoot, first day on set. Everyone was like, oh my God, you're working with so-and-so. He is a blast. He has so many stories.
Oh, yeah. I know who this is.
He's going to tell you about auditioning with Scorsese. Oh my God, such a blast. The guy didn't say 2 words to me. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Actor's Guide to the End of the World podcast. I'm Ikon Song, and this is...
Rían, how's it going?
Hey, buddy. We talk about acting in Hollywood in a way people understand. Wherever you're listening to this, thank you for joining us. We got a lot to talk about. Make sure you follow us on all platforms, YouTube, Substack, at Actors Guide Podcast. Follow us on all social media at Actors Guide Podcast. We're everywhere. Leave us a comment. Leave us a review if you get a chance. It helps the podcast.
Follow Econ around New York City if you see him.
Let's just jump right into it. I wanted to tell you this story, though.
Go on.
Because it's just so timely. You might have heard the Pope just got announced. The new Pope.
I did hear that. The new Chicago Pope.
Chicago Pope. Yeah, there's a connection there.
A lot of memes. A lot of Chicago memes. A lot of deep dish pizza memes.
It gets better. They announced the new Pope, white smoke and all. It's a big celebration. My dad comes home and follows these things, and he announces, hey, the new Pope just got named. And we're like, yeah, we heard. He goes, that was a former student of mine. I taught him math at Villanova.
What?
He was a math major.
Wait, your dad taught at Villanova?
Yeah. For those that didn't know this, my dad has taught for over 35 years in college. For literally, he's still working. He did work at Villanova. The Pope apparently was a math major at Villanova. And me and my mom looked at my dad because my dad is always making stupid jokes that don't make sense. We immediately were like, you're full of shit. Like we couldn't even comprehend. Is this some weird joke that you're just, but no, my dad contends that the new Pope studied. We do know that he was a math major at Villanova and he was a former student of my dad.
That's crazy. Your dad taught the Pope maths.
Yeah,
Mental.
Exactly.
So now that is the Pope in charge of the Vatican's finances? I don't know. I know the Vatican City has a lot of money. I know the Catholic Church has a lot of money. So if he fucks that up, your dad is partially responsible.
That's a good point. I feel confident that the Pope does not control the finances, but that would be funny if they did.
It's funny that I never expected to be talking about the Pope today, but now that I think of it, I don't know what the Pope actually does. I don't know how much hand the Pope has in all of the day-to-day dealings of the...
I was going to bring up the Irish Catholic roots, but I guess they're not that deep with you.
Well, I was vague. I was born Catholic, but I'm not a practicing Catholic.
Okay. I mean, no judgment. Anyway, so my fun Pope story was the highlight, was all the fun of this episode. Now we're going to get into the serious stuff. We do talk about Trump's tariffs. He fired a shot, used the big T word last week. We never thought that we would talk about it, but we kind of can't not talk about it. So here we are. We talk about what we know. We talk about a lot of different ideas that are floating around, what it even means, and some possible solutions that might come out of all of this. We have a fun little tidbit. We talk about etiquette on set. Do you chat a lot, or you Chatty Cathy or a solitary Simon? Do you hide off in your trailer like Rían does? We talk about these etiquette rules that happen beyond set and what works for us. Sit back, relax. Thank you for making us part of your day wherever you're listening. And now a word from our sponsor.
You think you're ready for leading roles? You feel you've got that star power? Fuck you. Seriously, who do you think you are?
Welcome to your humility coach, here to always keep you grounded. With this app, you'll have your very own personal coach keeping you humble.
Are you going to wear that? Don't know if it's ever going to happen. You think you're better than everyone else?
This holiday season, give the gift of humility. Now in Espanol.
Pinche pendejo.
We weren't sure if we were ever going to talk about this. We taped last week. We talked about a lot of what's going on internationally. And next thing you know, Trump drops this bomb. And everybody and their mom is mentioning to us, are we going to talk about it, break it down? You can't not, we kind of can't avoid it. We'll talk about how Governor Newsom and Jon Voight, of all people, is getting involved in this, and possible scenarios that might happen. So this one's going to be a big one.
I've been getting some texts. I've been getting some texts on this little bit of debate. So you know, I'm glad we're talking about it. Shout out to Emma, friend of the show.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
Thanks to our listeners. Here we are. We're diving into these territories, and it's going to be interesting.
Let's start with the original announcement.
Yeah, that's a great place. Trump said he's been studying about this for a week now. I don't know if you caught that. Yeah. A whole week. You don't say. So you studied it up. You hit the books. So Donald Trump, he's ordering the U.S. Trade Representative and Commerce Department begin process to impose a 100% tariff on imports of movies that are produced in foreign lands. He calls it a national security threat. He has talked to special ambassadors, i.e. Jon Voight. Hollywood is being destroyed. Now you have a grossly incompetent governor. Governor Newsom, we'll get back to that.
To me, ill thought out and just sort of like kind of off the cuff, as many of these announcements are, was how do you put a tariff on a fucking film? A lot of the initial reaction that I heard from a lot of people was like, that's ridiculous. It's still going to be just as expensive to produce here. It's just going to make foreign films, the screening of foreign films, prohibitively expensive for people to go to the cinema.
People in the industry said, this is so complex how, like, there's foreign distribution, there's independent distribution. What happens if it's made, if it's a U.S. company and one part or one aspect of it is done in foreign territory? All these complexities that you're just bringing up. We do not know any of this. There's actually not a lot that he said.
We don't want to make this bigger than it really is. We're just going off of what we're hearing. The White House responded after Trump's announcement and said they didn't make any final plans about any of this.
This story might go away before we even upload this. What I thought was interesting is the diverse opinions from experts, from workers in the industry. Who are we to disregard one versus the other? By the way, SAG had a response. We'll get into that. IATSE.
The Teamsters, I saw.
We have a lot of different opinions, and we didn't even get into Governor Newsom. We didn't even get into Jon Voight. So I will mention this one thing. We actually don't know what is happening with a lot of Trump's tariffs. We do know that he has a 145% tariff on China. Okay. That has been going on. They're meeting next week, by the way. So who knows? Things could drastically change next week. He's meeting with China in the next couple of weeks. China, as a response, did put a limit on U.S. movies being played in China. This has already been going on. This is already a thing. So that is one small thing. Obviously, China is a huge market, international box office. That is not ideal for American films. They're playing Fast and Furious 7 right now, I believe, and Minecraft movie. So all this is actively going on.
We know that there's an ongoing thing with Canada. Canada has removed all U.S. alcohol from their liquor stores. So there's ongoing back and forth with these things. We don't know what the retaliation could be.
Let me just say the IATSE response here. Matthew Loeb, IATSE president, in response to Trump's announcement, he called for a balanced federal response to return film and TV jobs. Oh, okay. Well, that's fair. In his statement, Loeb made it clear that any potential solution to the U.S. production exodus should not cause harm to the country's neighbor to the north, as these tariffs almost certainly would. That's fair.
So they said the tariffs are harmful. Their take is the tariffs are harmful.
So this is where it gets slightly interesting. Teamsters' announcement was kind of a different tone. For those paying attention, Teamsters president, he's kind of a badass. At least he's been badass for recent years for a lot of the strikes that he's been working through. President Sean O'Brien, for years, Hollywood studios have hollowed out the industry by following corporate America's crooked playbook of outsourcing good union jobs. Studios chase cheap production overseas. He goes on to say the Teamsters Union has been sounding the alarms for years. If studios want to benefit from American box offices, they must invest in American workers. We thank President Trump for boldly supporting good union jobs when others have turned their heads. This is a strong step toward finally reining in the studio's un-American addiction to outsourcing our members' work. Teamsters applaud any elected official, Republican, Democrat, Independent, who's willing to fight for American workers. We look forward to continuing to work with the administration to build a trade agenda that benefits our members and workers throughout the American motion picture and TV industry. So there we go. That was definitely a different sentiment, and that's kind of like where we start.
IATSE was opposed to it. The Teamsters were somewhat supportive of it, and
SAG-Aftra is actually pretty similar to IATSE. SAG-Aftra supports efforts to increase movie, television, and streaming production. We will continue to advocate for policies that strengthen our competitive position, accelerate economic growth, and create good middle-class jobs for American workers. We look forward to learning more about the specifics of the plan announced by the president and to advancing a dialogue to achieve our common goals.
That's more measured than I would have thought.
So let's talk about Gavin Newsom's response. I said this before. We've never been excited to jump into partisan politics. We try to keep things pretty relevant here. But I'll be honest with you. It was easy to write this off as, something silly was said. The Hollywood industry is already kind of shaky. And we do know that more instability is just going to cause more instability in the Hollywood industry. It's like we know that. It's not helping all this uncertainty. That being said, when we dig into these stories and we see what everyone's saying, it's kind of interesting. I mean, there might be a couple things to learn because we know that it's not working. So right off the bat, Gavin Newsom, Trump has no authority to impose 100% movie tariffs. He does respond. We've proven what strong state incentives can do. Now it's time for a real federal partnership to make America film again. At POTUS, let's get it done. So Newsom had to respond. Obviously, Trump threw some barbs at him, but Newsom responded with, let's work together. So a federal tax credit. And he's not the only one to say that, but this is what Newsom is proposing. That's a possible solution. So that actually might be a bit friendlier for foreign countries. It's not a penalty. It's just a rebate for American-based productions.
Well, honestly, that would have seemed to me, and I don't know a whole lot, but like that would have seemed to me to be the way to go initially, and not be punitive and not try and.
Obviously, if you're new listening, Rían's from Ireland.
Hi guys, I'm from Ireland.
Yeah. So. We have a vested interest, and it just so happened last week, we were talking about, hey, can all these industries coexist? And, if we support Hollywood, is that necessarily something that we're detracting from foreign industries and foreign film markets? Apparently, Trump is ready to fight fire with fire. We're trying to figure everything out, just like you guys. We have a vested interest, and, Rían at the moment works internationally. So this is not theatrics here. This does affect us.
Yeah, I'm sort of like a spy or like an international kind of like a figure of mystery in some ways.
Yeah, but you Irish people are so friendly. You no one was suspecting you. You would be like the nicest spy ever.
Exactly. You never see us coming.
Talk about this Jon Voight thing. So we here's the thing. First of all, hello, Jon Voight. Jon Voight just pops onto the scene. By the way, if you heard his tweet message, it is kind of hilarious. Like, I can't not mention this tweet message because he said that Donald Trump is a friend, obviously, and reiterates that he's one of the greatest presidents since Abraham Lincoln and also George Washington. So we can't ignore that.
We can.
Aside from that,
we can.
Jon Voight put a proposal together. This happened before Donald Trump made his announcement. So we'll put a link in the description because the proposal was a lot more in depth than Trump just spinning out about a tariff. His proposals: federal tax credit, 10%, 10 to 20%. He's proposing a federal tax credit. Also, same thing as Governor Newsom. Just saying. Federal tax credit, that's reasonable. That's not crazy, right?
There is a foreign tariff for Jon Voight's plan. We have here 120% of the value of the foreign tax incentive received. Meaning that if the production receives a foreign tax credit, there will be 120% of that that will be a U.S. tariff on that production. He says here, this is not meant to be a penalty, but a necessary step to level the playing field while not creating a never-ending cycle of chasing the highest incentive.
I'm not going to lie. Jon Voight had some interesting things to say. He wants to separate the producer from the streamer.
Okay.
He wants to end this trend that Netflix owns a lot of its content just by licensing it. It's the studio, but it also is the owner when they didn't produce the TV show. Let me try to break that down. When Netflix was buying up content and kind of making its way, Netflix was creating a few Netflix originals. They were also buying international shows with no star, with lesser names because they were cheap. We knew that. This was 8 years ago. This was when they were amassing all this content. Guess what? Those producers of those shows
You mentioned
were signing away the
Game.
rights so Netflix could
Same,
call it
yeah.
an original show. It wasn't a Netflix original. It was created by someone else in Brazil or Ireland or whatever. Netflix owned that outright. The producers got very little money, but they're on Netflix.
Squat for Squid Game.
Exactly.
Squat for Squid Game. That's not fair.
Actually, this was previous episodes. Korea, tons of shows on Netflix, trying to unionize now. Hello. That's going to be a conversation that Netflix is going to have with Korean producers. Anyway, separating producer from streamers. Right now, Netflix owns 100% along with long licensing terms. He's proposing that they have to pay a premium for those licenses. When those licenses end, producers then retain the ownership. Hey, that would be really nice. It would be nice if someone fights for that. Guess what? That sounds very similar to the Ryan Coogler Sinners deal. Hey, maybe a few people in power can actually do something right. No one else is doing it. Ryan Coogler gets the ownership of Sinners after 25 years. Hey, it's crazy enough to work. Okay? By the way, they abolished this 30 years ago in America before networks were not allowed to own their programs. ABC, NBC. That was banned. They abolished it 30 years ago. And all the networks celebrated. Yay! And all of Hollywood goes, man, this is bullshit. We got rid of that 30 years ago. He's trying to bring it back, but for streamers. I don't know. No one's talking about that. Where I was like, I know a lot of liberals and a lot of people in Hollywood who have been trying to push for that.
You're very animated today. You're very animated about this.
That coffee is kicking in now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took a nap today. Watch out, folks. California tax credits does not have any tax credits that apply to above the line. We knew that. The California tax credits do not apply to Tom Cruise and big name stars. We know that. He mentions that in the proposal. And the last thing that we'll talk about with Jon Voight, because this is where you come into play. Did you know?
Oh boy.
Did you know that there's a UK cultural test to qualify for the UK tax credit?
I know that as of about an hour ago.
So Jon Voight posted this. There is a UK cultural test to get approved for UK tax credit. I'm just going to read some of the bullet points. And by the way, this is not that crazy. I want to believe that Georgia has tax credits as far as how many locals from Georgia are working on a TV show. So
Yeah. Canada has something similar.
exactly,
I believe.
exactly. So this is not that crazy. Yeah. You get points for the film is set in the UK or the European Economic Area. The lead characters are British citizens or residents. The film is based on British subject matter or underlying material. Original dialogue is recorded in English or another indigenous UK language. So those are the big ones where you get points.
Sorry, what do these points get them?
That's a great question. You tally a certain amount of points for each category. And if you qualify for a certain amount of points, you hit the threshold to get the tax credit. What we believe that he's proposing is, hey, how come we don't have a U.S. cultural test for U.S. credits and U.S. films? Pretty much it with this.
Deep breath.
Yeah, I know. We got through it, Rían. We got through it. I know. We both can take a nap here. This was not easy. This was not easy for either of us.
So as we're wrapping this up, we see that there are a lot of different opinions. As polarizing as Trump is, we didn't even get to cruise stories. Now, we don't have the time to go down through cruise stories, but that is a Facebook group of industry professionals. You'd be surprised. A lot of them are saying, hey, this kind of makes sense. I know some people who have spoken to me personally, aside from political affiliation, and think that it actually kind of makes sense too. So I've heard both sides of the fence. Now, as far as do we have enough to get freaked out over, we know that media stocks already dropped. I don't know if there's enough to get freaked out over because the White House already said they didn't make any final plans. And on top of it, there's no mention of TV in any of this. This is specifically talking about film so far. Like I said, I think the responses to a lot of this have been the most interesting part, and there might be some solutions in this.
The entertainment industry does need a little help. In the past couple months, New York just landed a huge increase to their tax credits. They literally just doubled their tax credits, New York. And then Texas just increased their tax credits and I think literally doubled it. So there are people making moves right now. We might need more help. We know California needs more help. And the big question is are these even competitive with, like you said, tax credits in Ireland, in UK, and Australia?
We also have a number of listeners in Texas. Do you ever notice that? When I see the breakdown, I see we've quite a few listeners in Texas, and I'm always curious.
Really? Oh, actually, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I see. We see who's listening. We see you.
We have eyes everywhere.
Yep. Yeah, and it's funny because I know this stuff is pertinent to the industry and it's pertinent to what's going on at the moment. I find this hard to talk about because it weighs into an area that I feel I'm so burnt out on. I find the news really difficult to read lately. The same type of story that is exhausting.
Let's talk about that a little bit. I do a good job controlling what's information is coming at me, what's in my feed, and so on and so forth. I'm not scrolling through the latest news blurbs. I am not watching CNN or whatever news channel 24/7. I'm pretty resistant to it because I know how much that can boggle someone or just weigh someone down, and I try to protect myself from that. So I can understand if people are desensitized, but how much news do you watch?
I mean, I would traditionally would read the news every day. I've stopped doing that just because I find it.
Read the news on what,
Google
like
news or whatever.
on your email blogs or whatever?
Google News. Yeah, email blog. But yeah, Google News basically. I'll just go to the Google News homepage or I'll, click links on stories. So I do, I typically do consume a lot of news, but I've actually pared that back a lot lately just because I find it kind of overwhelming and a bit relentless. Activates that in me and I'm like, here we go.
There is a lot of, it's clear, I mean, from what I heard, anxiety is contagious. Okay? I mean, scientifically, we know that. Personally for me, there is a lot of anxiety that comes from the unknown. If you're in the Hollywood industry right now, whether you're an actor, whether you're a writer, for the past 2.5, 3 years, we've been dealing with a lot of anxiety and a lot of unknown. What I just realized when we were digging into these articles is the fact that personally for me, having a little more clarity as opposed to the sky is falling, studios are trying to replace actors with AI, and et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, we're trying to put bills on the table and also continue to work at our craft and become a better actor, right? Looking at the specifics of what is actually happening, what are people saying, actually reduces my anxiety in this particular situation a teeny bit. I am not fighting an ambiguous dark cloud that is just looming over us and eventually going to strike. What I'm saying here is Trump makes an announcement. What did he say? Not much of anything. Okay. We have a few responses from people who we believe have American interests at heart, and maybe someone might say something smart. That actually makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I can get on board with that.
So I agree. I'm not ready to solve any world crises that are happening right now, but
that's
for this
disappointing.
particular issue, yeah, no, you have to stay tuned for next
I
episode.
thought that was going to be your hidden gem. You're going to solve a world crisis.
Oh, that reminds me. I got to think of a hidden gem. There's some people over here trying to think about an idea to help us. I mean, PJ Burns, Stay in LA is one of them. And it just so happens that, hey, we actually might have some people, whether they're Republican or Democrat, trying to find a solution. I mean, we've been frustrated about what's been happening in California for what, 4 or 5 years now? This is where I am.
Longer, really.
And so,
yeah,
exactly. That helps me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because this actually makes me feel like we're going somewhere instead of just going down the same decline.
I can dig it. I have a question for you, which is unrelated to this topic, but it was just something I saw on Instagram this morning.
Yeah, give it to me.
Walton Goggins was talking about taking your time on set, or like, what do you need to do to prepare for a scene? He was talking about what he likes to do. He's just like, his take on it was, don't sit with the other actors, in the green room. He's like, stay on set, pick something up. You know what I mean? Talk to people on the set, but he's like, just stay in it and don't staying on the set in between takes. There was an older actor who was like, you're not leaving, are you? And he's like, no, I'm staying. And he's like, good. Always stay on the set. Like in between setups and everything else. Stay right in it. Stay in that environment. I was just curious as to how do you act on a set? Are you chatty? Are you very social on a set? Are you, do you just stay in it, really sort of living in it? Or do you fuck off and have a cup of coffee and chat to people and have a laugh? And what does it require for you?
I would say that for most of my experiences, we have to react and roll with the punches of what that set is. What star am I working with? What's the vibe on set? That's different day to day. And for us, or when I say for me, I have to do whatever I need to do my best work. And I think it's something that we talk at Leslie's. Some days, if the star wants to keep chatting in between takes and stuff like that, you stay chatting with them. You stay connected with them. I will admit, sometimes we don't have that luxury to be like, oh, the second AD comes over to you. Like, we're doing another setup, so we're going to bring you over here, and we're going to wait, and we're going to bring you back onto set. Now, there's a few times where I'm like, that's just easier. Let me just sit over there while they set up. And I don't have the option of being like, no. You guys change sets around me. You guys switch sides.
Of course.
So it would be a great problem to have, to be like, I'm Walton Goggins. Let me just sit here and play with my props. You know what I mean? I would love that.
Would you? That would be. Would you do that if you had?
Oh, I would. I would stay on set. The whole chatty thing is interesting, and I won't say what show or what experience. I was getting ready to shoot, first day on set. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, you're working with so and so. He is a blast. He has so many stories."
Oh yeah,
about,
I know who this is.
He's gonna tell you about auditioning with Scorsese. Sit back, relax. Oh my God, such a blast. The guy didn't say 2 words to me. He said, "Hi, nice to meet you. My name is." Did not look at me, did not say 2 words. We eventually got to set. We did a little rehearsal, sat next to each other, didn't say 2 words. There was not a lot of heavy lifting for him or me. He was on his phone, fidgeting. It was freaking me out. And I was like, dude, I can't even sit next to you. I'm freaking out. And I had to go walk around because I was like, there's something, I don't know what you're going through, but there's some energy there. I don't want to get involved, but let me we'll make it work regardless. But that's kind of like what I'm pointing, where I'm playing in your sandbox and I got to protect I got to make sure I don't shit the bed because you're fine. You're top on the call sheet. So that's where I am. We gotta play ball with whoever.
It's funny, isn't it? And I will say, like, I have to be careful with this stuff, like, because I love being on set. I really enjoy the buzz of it. So I get kind of excited and I like chatting to a lot of different people. So I have to be careful with that too, because it's a balance for me to also remember to take the time to do what I need to do to get to where I need to be. However that looks, and like I know what you're saying about if you have the power to stay on a set and go, I'm the star here, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Oftentimes you're moved off the set because you're in people's way when they're, changing setups, which is totally fine. Obviously you don't want to be in anybody's way. Yes, but I do see actors who like cannot wait to get off the set in between takes or whatever. Just, they like, and then they come back when they're brought back or whatever, and they just don't want to be there in between. And that's totally fine.
Wait, real quick, I just want to throw this out there where, if you study at Leslie Kahn and, a lot of times we talk about this, whatever you need to do to be brilliant, it could be sense memory, it could be substitutions, it could be a lot of things that Leslie doesn't actually even teach. You can do that. Do whatever you need to do to be brilliant and protect yourself. And the other thing I will say is to that point, a lot of actors, especially stars, might not want to rehearse with you. They might not want to run lines. Yeah. And how do you protect your performance? Be like, I'm bulletproof. I can handle any direction. I can take any note, and I'm ready. I'm ready to work. And how do you get to that level? And that's what we strive for.
That's a very good point. It is. It's a kind of it's a weird thing of like, I think you have to be good at just reading the temperature of one, a set, two, what someone else needs. Some people just don't want to be bothered. So you don't want to be going up and chatting to them and yapping away. And like, I suppose it also depends on the nature of what it is you're doing. If it's a comedy, it's a little lighter, it's a little easier. If it's something heavy, people might need more space. And a phone is interesting as well. I find that a phone takes me right out of it. If I can not bring a phone to set, I'm in better shape. Now, sometimes I do, and I like leave it off to the side in between takes or whatever, but I find that a phone distracts me from where I am anyway. I've seen a lot of stuff recently about people just do not bring a phone to set at all. Just be 100% there.
A lot of great directors, no phones. No phones.
I like that. I do like that.
I do too. I mean, I know that you're fairly social. Have you ever been in a situation where you were so social that you felt like it hurt your work?
Yeah, I think so, to a degree, because I always think that there's more specificity you can find. I think I always think there's more to mine out of something. You know what I mean? Without being too precious about it, without being too rigid about it. Yeah. And also there's something about just letting go and just whatever happens. You know what? When I did this indie movie a couple of years ago, and I was determined to be a part of it in every way. Like, I hung out with people after work because we're all, away together. Because sometimes I have to remind myself to like, just be here and enjoy every second of this. Don't miss any of it. I was hanging out with people after long days, and we'd go out and we'd hang out and whatever. So you'd be out late, and then you might have an early call time in the morning. So I actually found that in the middle of that job, I was like, oh, I got to protect my energy a little bit here, because I was so, so committed to like, oh, just enjoying all of it and just being a part of it. There is a point where you have to kind of pull it back and direct your energy a little bit more efficiently, or just intelligently go, okay, well, obviously I can't be doing that every night, or,
And I'll go the other way, because I can relate to this. This is actually, I just remember this. I always remember this quote. Timothy Oliphant, obviously he's done a lot of work, Justified and so on. He admitted he realized halfway through, I'm not having as much fun as everyone. And he just realized, he's working with these series regulars. He's like, I'm not having much fun. I think the realization was when they had like bloopers and gag reels at the end of the season, just for fun with camaraderie and community. He was in none of them. And it was like, what is this? Terrible. What is this saying? The fact that I'm not having, and I relate to that.
Because you're no fun. Yeah. Because you are zero fun. Yeah. No, so you relate to it because you're no fun. Yeah.
All the things that we work on at Leslie's, when we're like, dig deeper. What are you missing? What are you trying to, you can try to perfect the beautiful, ornament or beautiful sculpture that you're trying to make. But there's an element of, can you let go? And if you're in a comedy, can you maybe, if you have a little more fun, you actually might be doing a better job.
Even if you're in something serious. But even if you're in something serious,
that's
there's something to be said for having fun outside it to kind of lighten it. And then, I think you're right. I think like do as much work as you can beforehand and then let it go when you get there. And don't be a dick, as we've discussed a few times.
And George Clooney is notorious for that. Like, he could be joking around with you and do an incredibly serious scene right afterwards. So he just goes in and out completely seamless.
He's so good.
So let's do a hidden gems.
Hidden gems. Mine is a little unusual. It's not hidden. It may be not a gem for lots of people, but I had a yellow mango for the first time a couple of weeks ago.
That's
and
cool.
My God, it was one of the most delicious things I've ever eaten. I don't know why I've never had a yellow mango before. But they
I
were
didn't even know the difference in
Whole Foods there
mangoes.
for $1. I didn't either. I didn't know there was a yellow mango or a different type of mango. Okay. Anyway, they were like, yellow mangoes, $1. And I was like, all right, I'll take a few of them. Well, it was like to steal from a friend of mine, an angel sleeping in my mouth. It was just an incredible taste and sensation. I was like, well, I'll be eating these every time I see them.
Okay.
Tangy,
Nice.
sweet, yellow mango.
Awesome. I love that.
That's my hidden gem for anybody who is has led as sheltered a life as I clearly have, fruit-wise.
Man, you really need to get out there. There's so many yellow mangoes that have not been eaten yet. Let me throw this hidden gem out there. It is a little timely, but I want to give a little love to it. It's so funny because it's a huge brand. You've probably seen the commercials, but if you're in New York,
Coca-Cola.
you've seen... No, not that big. If you're in New York, I'm trying to go through like the random little adventures I had in New York. If you've been in New York, you know that there's Capital One cafes throughout Manhattan. Capital One is obviously
there's one
the
here, or there used to be in Santa Monica.
Exactly. So there's one in Santa Monica. I haven't been to those, but I know there's a couple in LA.
You've mentioned these before, I feel.
I think so. You might have seen it on my social media. So Capital One Cafe, it's so funny. This is not sponsored. It is sponsored by Kevin. Kevin Hart is sponsored, but I am not. Capital One Cafe is such a nice cafe in Manhattan. It's clean. It's spacious. Even if you don't have the bank card, you're welcome to go in there, and it's a fully working cafe. They have Verve, coffee beans. Anyway, the reason why I want to give it a little love is they have promotions specifically right now during the baseball season, MLB, where every Monday, all you have to do is scan their QR and you get a free cup of coffee or a free tea or a free handcrafted beverage. That's alone every Monday.
Handcrafted beverage is a great phrase.
They also have free QR codes online where me and my sister have found them, and we often got treated to a free coffee. Now, the thing is I support them so much. Long story short, I needed to open up a new checking account. I switched banks. I use Capital One. If you have any Capital One card, you get 50% off any beverage using that card.
All right.
At any time. And you also, I know, it never ends.
Just go back through our episodes here, looking at transcripts to see can I find where you've mentioned this.
Well, no, I probably said it to you off air. Probably raved about it. I raved about it 6 months ago. Now here I am. I'm a customer. That's good business, everyone. Not only that, actually, I didn't even want to tell this part. This is a real hidden gem. I don't even want people to know. I can book. I don't know. Maybe I'll cut this out. You got to listen to the end, everyone. You got to listen to the end. I can book a nook, a private room at the Capital One Cafe for free for 2 hours using my app as a card member. There you go. I might be recording an episode in the Capital One Cafe one of these days. Just watch out. So that's our hidden gems. Thanks for listening, guys. Hidden gems is a way we get we say thanks for listening to the end. However you're watching or listening, thanks for making us part of your day. Until next week. See ya.
See you next week, guys.
Well, that's our show, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. If you get a chance, please leave a review. We're on YouTube. We're on Substack. We're on all social media at Actors Guide Podcast. See you next week.